Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a video about the new role that is a clinical associate psychologist. And this is a very new role. I mean, I have been hearing about it for a couple of months. It's basically an apprenticeship type role. That's kind of what they've framed it as. I don't know if that is the correct word for it though. I mean, it's all very unclear at the moment. So the information that I'm going to be sharing here today is just bits that I've found online from websites like the BPS, ACP, from the Clinical Psychology Forum, and also from looking at job descriptions of the actual role itself, okay? So don't take this as the complete definition of it or a complete insight into what the role is, because by no means am I an expert in it at all. I would love to find out more about it. If any of you guys who are watching are a clinical associate psychologist, then please leave your experience down below, because it's very new and I'd love to hear more about it and the truth of what it is, because obviously things can be very different from what they are on paper. Please leave your point of view, your experience down below. I think it would help loads of people, including myself. So with that little intro out the way and disclaimer, let's get into the video. So the first question I had when I saw this role was, what is it? So what it is a 1-year training course at a master's level where alongside it you do clinical placement. So it is very like the clinical doctorate. However, you only get 75 days of clinical placement, okay? So that's really important to keep that in mind. Now by the end of this, what they want you to be able to do is to be able to conduct psychological assessments and interventions for a specific group of people. So whether that be CAMS, older adults, learning disability, within a certain client group, okay? So you're not going to have that ability to branch out. Now what I don't know is if after a certain amount of years you can progress to a different group of people. So whether you can move from CAMS to older adults, I don't know about that. So once you have done the course, you have to do the assessments and the interventions under the supervision of a fully qualified clinical psychologist. That doesn't mean they're going to be sat there with you. I guess it will be similar to when you're an assistant psychologist, where they're not sat there all the time, but you are under very close supervision. So, like the doctorate, you get paid while you're on this course doing the masters. You start off as a band 5 when you're training, so when you're doing your studying, and then when you're also on your clinical placement, all within a year, and you're at a band 5 for that. So after you have completed the course and your placement, you then get bumped up to a band 6, and that's the level you'll be working at as a clinical associate psychologist. Something that I've read while looking at the job descriptions for jobs that are actually out there for clinical associate psychologists is that after you have completed the course, you have to then stay in that role for 2 years, okay, within that same trust. So that exact same role, that same trust. You can't move anywhere. So that's what the role actually is. Now I also wondered why it came about, because it did seem as though it kind of fell within the same level, I guess, as an AP, and so I was thinking, what's the point? It just seems like another path onto getting onto the doctor, I guess, because what I can see happening is a lot of people doing this course and staying with it for the amount of years they have to, and then just applying for the clinical doctorate. So I just didn't understand why they couldn't put more AP posts out there instead. That's just my question around it. So from my research, the reason why this role came about was because of the NHS long-term plan to increase psychological therapies. And so that means creating new roles and obviously increasing funding. So I guess this is one of the ways. Unfortunately, because there isn't that much information out there, that's all I've got. And that's why I really want people to have a discussion in the comments below and teach me more about the role, because I have no idea. But now I'm just going to go through a few pros and cons which I have been kind of thinking about when I've been doing my research. I'm going to start off with the cons because, you know, let's finish on a high note. One of the main cons is that you have to stay in the same role for multiple years after you've qualified. And personally, I don't know how beneficial that would be for someone who wants to get onto the doctorate, because I mean, this is just my personal choice, but I would prefer to have a year contract as an AP in one service and then move on to another one, just so that I can get a more wider perspective on psychology for different groups of people, different ages, you know, and even different areas, because I reckon being part of the service in East London where I live would be very different to the service that I'm currently in Essex. And that's just because of the clientele that you probably are dealing with and their backgrounds, their cultural beliefs and all of that. So that's one of the main cons, that you have to stay within the post for multiple years. I only looked at one job description for this and it did say 2 years, so bear that in mind. Another big con for me is that you have to complete a lot of competencies within 1 year. You have to be able to do assessments, interventions, and then it's kind of like you've got 75 days of clinical placement and then you're qualified as this clinical associate psychologist. It's like you're trying to cram in so much into a small amount of time. It is part of a master's course, so there are going to be written work, there's going to be tests, and it's like, how feasible is that? And is the quality of learning going to be that good? And my final con would probably be the uncertainty around what it is. I've done quite a bit of research, but also it's not that widely known yet. No one knows about it. It's a new role, so it's fair enough that no one really knows what's going on, but that is quite a con in itself. I reckon if you're within the first cohort of something like this, you are the guinea pigs. A lot of things could go wrong. I mean, that's just a risk you're going to have to take. But there's a lot of uncertainty about what the role is, what you do. I guess just the uncertainty of going into a completely new role is a con, because you're not going to know what you're doing. The people who are organising the course aren't really going to know what you're doing. I'm sure they have really clear outlines, but it's always different in practice, isn't it, really? I'd say that's a bit of a con for me. Some people might think it's exciting, you know. Obviously there are some pros to this new role, and that is that you get paid higher than an AP. APs usually get paid a band 4, and this is a band 5 post when you start off, and then you get moved up to a band 6. So that is pretty good. Obviously you're not going to complain having a bit more money in the bank. And also you get a master's qualification paid for. You're getting paid to do a master's rather than spending 10 grand on it. That is a massive pro. Overall, I think it is a pretty good role. I don't know if I personally would go for it, just because of the restrictions around staying within the same role for 2 years potentially, and I don't know, it's just because it's quite new and that scares me. I just want to know how easy it will be to progress from a role like this onto the doctorate. Now, I don't think they're going to say no, you can't do that, but what's the difference then between doing this and an AP post? I mean, really, this sounds like a better option, doesn't it? You get a paid master's and a pay increase. I don't know, it is very confusing for me, I guess. I'm in my post until next January, so who knows, maybe I do try out for one of these roles, because I like learning and I think it would really be good to have the studying and then the placement. I think that would really work well for someone like me who isn't the best at academics. I'm really not. So maybe having that side-by-side teaching and placement, maybe that would be really helpful for someone like me. Now, I know that these roles have been in Scotland for a while now, longer than England. I mean, they've only just started here. If you are someone who has done this role in Scotland or have just know a bit more about it than I do, please can you let me know down below whether this information is correct, whether it is like this in real life practically, and just your guys' point of view on the whole situation, you know? On top of that, a little update, or not update, but some exciting news that I've been told is that funding for the clinical doctorate has increased. There are 25% more places, so that is incredible. That's such a large increase, guys. I do think it is only for the year 2020 to 21, but things are improving. The NHS plan is to increase psychological therapies, and it's actually, you know, they're doing it. They're increasing the amount of people on training. It's such a promising time. I hope this video has helped you a little bit to figure out maybe a different path you could go on to get onto the doctorate. With that all being said, guys, please like this video if you like it, and comment down below for what other videos you want to see. Don't forget to subscribe, please. And yeah, I've hit 200 subscribers, which is amazing. Whoop whoop. It feels so good to know that my videos are helping people. I love getting emails from you guys and I love being able to help you. So Email is always in the description, and I'm going to leave it here because this outro has been so long. Until next time guys, I will see you later.